Okay, I've waited 5 seconds. This is David, the Georgia photographer, and welcome to another installment of Free for All Sunday Livestream. I pretty well have a theme for every live stream I ever do. In other words, they're all going to be this series, and they're always a series of one. Anyway, today I was going to talk about how I use my expensive camera and connect cheap lenses to it and still take pictures with it and somehow get good photos. The reason I bring this up is because I did a video or two here lately and I use this. This is a Leica SL2 if you don't know. It's a fairly expensive camera. It's kind of their flagship mirrorless. Basically it's the equivalent of like a D5. Give you that idea. But the point being is that I keep using this camera because I really enjoy what it does. Hey Dwayne, how you doing? Thank you for coming in. You're not drinking Mountain Dew. Nope. Today it is Aquafina. There's Woody. Hey, how you doing, Woody? No more Mountain Dew for a while. That stuff is bad. Yeah, that I did that day, and I thought I haven't had one in a long time. I thought, yeah, I'll get one, and I'm gonna see what it's like now that I haven't drank one in a long time. Hey Hassan and Spencer Pullum's here. Hey, how you doing, Pullin? Hey, but I thought, hey, I think I'll film my reaction to this. So that was a legit reaction. I was gonna let you know that stuff is nasty. It's like drinking Karo syrup now with like a little bit of citrus in it or something. Oh, it's so sweet. I couldn't handle it. Gotta get the Baja Blast. Only good for, ooh, and Ray's here. How you doing, Ray? I don't drink them either, hardly ever. I like a root beer occasionally. I like Barks root beer and I like IBC root beer. I mean, it's the best in my opinion. But Carmen says, "Is that you, David? How the heck are you?" I'm good, thank you. But what I'm doing here is I have the as somebody said in the comments of my last video, I have the Mercedes-Benz of camera bodies with basically like a AMC Pacer lens on it. Hassan says root beer is the bomb. Yeah, it is. My favorite is ice cold IBC. If I was gonna have one, that would be what I pick. My second favorite is Barks. It's my next, and I like it. I like them both really cold though. Charles Andrus, good day everyone. No more Mountain Dew for David. Woo, that stuff was harsh. We went today up to a place called Dayton Pocket and hiked up to Laurel Falls. Little beknownst to me, from the car to Laurel Falls is 3 miles one way up the mountain, all the way. Well, for some reason I had it in my head that it was like this 1,000-yard hike. I don't know what I was thinking, but we kept walking and kept walking and kept walking and kept walking, and we went with my daughter and her boyfriend Sierra and August, and August knows the way, so he's leading. And the longer we walk, the more I start to wonder if I brought enough water, because it was 92 today and probably about 89 or 90% humidity. You know, you sweat and it doesn't evaporate. Okay, if you're from the West, when you sweat, it evaporates and it makes you cooler, so that like a 102 degree day is hot, but it's not unbearable. Now you have to worry about dehydration, so you have to hydrate constantly. Well, here in the South, things are different. What happens here is you go outside and it feels like someone took a garden hose with one of those like sprayer nozzles and just wetted you down, and you just stay like that all day. So it doesn't evaporate. You sweat, your shirt gets soaking wet, and like, you know, your socks are wet in your shoes and everything else, but you don't get any cooler. You stay hot, and you go through water because it's coming back out of your skin, but you know, you can't like get the cooling effect of it. So it's a very different kind of heat. And I wasn't expecting, like I said, I wasn't expecting it to be no 6 mile round trip hike. So I took only a quart of water. Well, it's a hydro flask. I got the little, I think it's like a 30-ounce hydro flask. And yeah, Spencer says, yeah, exactly. We roast in Florida as well. Yeah, it's very similar. 92 and very high humidity in Virginia today. Whew. Up in Virginia and in the mountains would be miserable. Make sure I didn't. Now that is what you call a good trek. Yeah, it is. Whew. And I did a vlog, and it'll be coming out towards the end of July. It involves this bad boy. I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of a spoiler, but this is the 105mm f2 DC Nikkor, and I like this focal length when I shoot action or events a lot of times. I should have took it with me over the weekend, but I wanted autofocus, just to be honest with you. This lens will only autofocus on my D810. No other camera I have will this lens autofocus on. So I ran my Z6 and my 70-200 over the weekend taking some photos. If you follow me on Facebook at all, then you know that I have another kind of our family sings a music called Sacred Harp. Okay, if you don't know what that is, a cursory YouTube search will find you a lot of it. And if you are going to search it, search for Cork, C-O-R-K, Sacred Harp, primarily because she actually did some of the best recordings of the Cork, Ireland convention. But you can actually search like my name and it may hit. There's videos of me in Sacred Harp singing, but I photograph them because I just do. I don't know, people do stuff. That's what I do. And then I share the photos on my wall for the community, and it's kind of my way of giving back to it. All right, and it's folk music singing for most people. It's church music for me. And I meant to take this lens, but I didn't. Like I said, I took 70-200, and it worked perfectly. You know what I did learn though? To run the F to Z on the Z6 and a F mount lens like that runs the batteries dead quicker than if you run the S lenses. I have the 24-70 S, which, okay, you know, granted, there is less moving mass. The 70-200 has more mass in it, and so there's that. But that lens doesn't draw that much power on the D810. I have the battery gear from the D810, so it has 2 batteries in it. And I can shoot all day and never have to worry about a dead battery. And on that Z6, I go through 2 full batteries, and I'm into the 3rd one before the day's out. And I get, like, I turn off the viewfinder, I shoot off the display so that I don't, because the viewfinder uses more energy. And it just is more power hungry. I don't understand it. I have the Gen 1. It's the first VR autofocus 70-200. Phil has the Gen 2, and then of course they come out with that Gen 3, and now I think the Gen 3 had the fluorite elements in it. And I was this close pulling trigger on that monster, and to talk myself out of it. Teresa's back from the store. Did you find all the stuff you needed?
I didn't find them out.
You got a sack full of stuff.
But
Look at this.
Hard to ride that bicycle with all those heavy bags.
Say hi to the streamers.
David, they're old. Okay, I'm trying to tell
You're in public. She's riding a bicycle in public and she doesn't want me to stream. Oh, silly. I have the VR one too. That lens works well on the Z6. It does, but it's power hungry. I learned that pretty quick Saturday. So Sunday I took a fourth battery, and I didn't need the fourth one. So it held up for 6 hours of shooting. I took something like 200 or 300 photos, and then I filmed some 120 frame per second. That's the beauty of the Z6 that the D810 won't do. Is I could do 120 slow-mo because I was getting some video footage, and then I recorded some stuff at 24 frames and captured all that through that 70 to 200. I just rack it back to 70 millimeters for video, and then just work whatever photography or what have you with the 200. But yeah, I really always enjoy doing that. But I have used the 105 for those events. The first time I shot anything with it of any seriousness, I used this lens and manual focused it on the Z6. But yeah, I like it on the D810 a lot. Mr. Camera Junkie's here. Hi, how you doing? Thank you for dropping in. But yeah, I was using this today on the Leica SL2. So, because what I was testing was a high quality lens from Nikon, and this is a very high quality lens, on a high megapixel image stabilized sensor camera. What would it produce? And the images coming out of this looked shocking right out of the camera. It was incredible. Thank you. Yeah. Hello. I'm glad you are here. Everybody's welcome, especially you. But yeah, I wanted to get out and shoot with it. So I shot it wide open with the defocus control set to rear 2. Just barely off. And the reason, Velo Rider, wow, aloha, how you doing? Are you in Hawaii currently? I got questions if you are. I'm interested in something. But yeah, I thought the reason I didn't stop it down was you don't buy this lens to shoot it at f8. You buy this lens to shoot it wide open. I've got the 105 f2.5 and I've got a 105 f4 macro. If I wanted to shoot stop down, I'd grab one of those because those lenses are stunning shots, stop down, and they're lighter than this one. No, you buy this monster because you want to shoot it at f2. So I shot all the photos at f2 today. Cuban Rum, how you doing? No, not really. I mean, like I said, I moved it. As you can see, it's still set. If I can get the camera to focus on it. I don't know how to get it to focus. But I've got it set to f2. That was it. I've rarely messed with it. The lens produces such beautiful character even at 0 that you really don't need it. And the change is so subtle. If I was shooting studio portraits with this with maybe strobes, and I had like a good bit of distance to separate my subject from the background so I could blur the background at like f5, 6 or f4, then you could run this over to f4 and you could get a little more out of it and still have a nice creamy background, because all it does is it takes the edges of the bokeh objects and blurs them just a little more. It's really interesting. I don't know how they're doing that, because like Fuji, Fuji has a version of their 56mm f1.2 that actually has a filter embedded in the lens that it's a graduated density filter on the perimeter, and you lose, I think, what is it, a half stop of light, or I think it's a half stop of light. So the 1.2 becomes a 1.8 effectively. But by adding that graduated ND around the perimeter, it makes the bokeh super creamy because it fades out. And I don't remember what they call that filter. Somebody with Google available can look it up and drop it in the chat if you want. But this doesn't do it that way. This actually moves a different element in the lens assembly separate from the focus assembly. Because, you know, this is moving the focus assembly. This little ring actually moves an element up toward the front to somehow not lose focus while blurring the background just a little more. And I don't fully understand all I know about that. It's some dark magic. It does work, but it's very subtle. This lens could do without that ring, and it would be a stellar lens as a standalone 105 f2. And I think they would have sold a mountain of these if they had done that. Don Jones from Cali, how you doing? The AI, no, this is the AF-D series. It's the screw drive focus. It's got this little slot right here that drives it with the screw. I was shooting it as manual focus today, so to select manual focus, it has a selector switch. It's this button here, that little silver button on that black ring, and when you press it, you can move it, and you can see it shift right there to select manual and auto. So you move it to manual, and what that does is that decouples the input shaft from the ring gear so that you can turn it. Otherwise, you're driving that worm gear, and this whole thing is spinning. It'll turn, but that you're fighting that worm gear, and that you risk damage to your ring gear in there. You used to use a D lens on 7100. The AFDs are beautiful lenses. They don't get the credit they deserve. This lens is heavy. It's all metal. This one, I think, in the 135 f2 DC are the only lenses that the lens hood comes out, and I think, yep, you turn it and it locks. Well, I ain't got it locked, but 1, 2. You got to turn it like 2.5 times, I think. Yep, and there it goes, and it locks, and now it won't collapse. And then you unscrew it 2.5 turns, and it releases, and then you can collapse it. And they do that supposedly because a bunch of the other older lenses with integral hoods, you could push on one side and you can't hardly tell it. I did it on this one, there you go. And it would do that. It doesn't hurt anything, but you would bump the lens hood and it would push it back down over time. But this way, it stays out, it stays locked. I don't know how they're doing it. There's a pin in there or something. There it goes. But you can actually stand the camera up on it and it'll sit there, you know. It's pretty neat. It was like they pulled out all the stops on these guys. But I don't have the 135, I just got the 105. 135 is a beautiful length for portraiture, and I have a 135, I think it's an f4 Nikkor, but and it's an AI lens. It's beautiful glass though. Gary Arbuckle, hey, how you doing, Gary? And Scott Peterson, hey, how you doing? Thank you for coming in. They're going for 4 to 500. Yeah, this the 135 f2 was bringing about 9 when I bought this one, and this one was bringing about 650 for it. And this one was like new. It was in almost brand new condition when I got it. Come with the box and everything. But I paid, I think it was about $615 or $650, one of them two numbers. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, and like I said, it was like brand new when I got it. And I bought it right after they discontinued it. You know, they dropped it in like 2016 or 2017. They stopped making them when that new 105 autofocus lens that they launched came out. And what was it, a f1.4, I want to say? It was some kind of huge aperture f105. Like a G-series lens, and when that one came out, they stopped making this one, which I thought was very unfortunate. The 105 is cheaper. It's a lot smaller, 135 is a lot bigger. But it has the exact same feature set. Everything about it's the same except the size. But yeah, it's got all the bells and whistles. Everything that you could want. Yeah, the new one is a 1.4, yeah. So you do get more light, you know, with the new one. And you get autofocus on electric cameras. You want one of these? Flea Bay, dude, I'm telling you. And at this point, I would probably look, honestly, at Robert's camera and see if they have one, or I would look at Japan. I don't know the deal, but Japanese photographers typically take exceptionally good care of their camera equipment. Every lens I've ever bought from Japan, typically they come from camera shops in Japan, will always be like brand new when you get them. Even the finish is like new. It's shocking how good the lenses coming out of Japan are. Hard to beat any D lens. Yeah. When I open the stream, I have the Mercedes-Benz of cameras with the AMC Pacer of lenses, the 24mm AIS Nikkor. It's not going to focus. It's trying to focus on me. But I like this combo. For street photography, this works really well. I set this to f8. And f8 on this lens, if I set infinity to one side, it is 4 feet to infinity is in focus on this lens. Your favorite 24? This is the one that, I got a text message. This is the one I was set up on the D810 when I was live streaming out of the shop office with Aaron and using the OBS software. I had this lens fixed on the D810. And I was running it with a HDMI cable into the computer. But I had a piece of tape or paper taped to the barrel with 2 marks on it. And one was, what was it? Minimum focus, and then a marker for where I was when I sat in the chair, so I could just dial it over to where I was real easy. Don Jones, my place is the shop, eBay, and Robert's Camera. Both of which are excellent choices. I mean, I have a lot of good luck with both of them. I got something on my what kind of piece of rubber on this adapter. I don't know what that is. Okay. She's got to eat some snack. We went and ate pizza after we went hiking in Dayton Pocket. So we all got carb loaded, so we were all sleepy. We come over here and cut on the AC in the camper and all passed out and took naps. Really? You found a metal lens hood that actually screws on? I have one that's, I think it's for the 28 that Bass Angler sent me. And I've got it on the 28. I might as well stick it on here, see how it does. Because I don't shoot that 28 anymore, I shoot this one. Let's see here. Do I have it with me? Oh no, I took it out. I've got one of those Asahi Pentax 28 f3.5. It's real small. I really like that one for a whole plethora of stuff. It's great for just like general family photos and things because it ain't big and heavy. And it fits this, you know, I've got the M42 to L mount adapter, so it goes right on this thing, or my CL if I want a smaller form factor. What we got here? Huh. Yeah, the 35mm AIS lenses are high. I noticed you can get an f2. There's Adrian. How you doing? What is that smell? What kind of cereal did you buy? Smells weird. I don't know what that's like, sawdust or something. Make sure that door latches too. There we go. Because if you don't, then the hot air from outside comes in. But yeah, I was looking for the 35 for a while. Adrian just had his 35 go belly up. He's got to get him a new one. You can get, I think you can get a f2 and you can get a 28. Yeah, I think everybody used them. Ooh, excuse me. I think they saw a lot of service is why. Honestly, are you putting it on a mirrorless Nikon or a DSLR? Because if you're putting it on a mirrorless, these little magic widgets will allow all sorts of options, and you can probably get a Pentax Asahi 35. Both. Oh well. If you're putting it on DSLR, then you actually do need the AIS, because then it'll actually couple up the metering pin and all that jazz. Yeah, I have the 28 f2.8. Mine, I think, has started to get fungus in it. The last time I took it out, I was getting halos, so I think it needs to be dismantled and properly cleaned. Yeah. Yeah, here's Adrian's recounting. My sister threw my camera with my 35 downstairs. The camera is just fine, but the lens ain't handled it well. Ooh, now I'm laughing, but yeah, that would hurt. I took a dive today. Let's see. Yeah, there's a mark there, and there's a big old scuff on my arm. Let's see if I can get my arm around. You see this big old scratch on my forearm, and there's one on the back of this elbow somewhere where I deep sixed it. Stepped on a small rock about the size of a baseball, trying to get a composition. I don't know if it'll work. I've got a lot of light in this room. Let's see if it'll let me. And go into the photos. Wait till you see the rock skipping pictures. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's still too bright. I need more light in the room for it to work right. What this picture is of August rock climbing, and I was trying to get him to fill the frame properly and get around. There's a little branch right here that you can't tell, but it's there, trust me. Yeah, if I do that a little bit, you can kind of, that cuts down the light some. But yeah, there's a little tree limb right here, and what I was trying to do is move back and over a little bit, so I stepped back. And, and I'm looking through the viewfinder when I do that, and I've got that 105 on here. And when I did, I stepped on a rock, and it was round and about the size of a baseball. And that thing just rolled right out from under my foot, and dude, I decked. And I landed on the camera right there. You can see the dirt in that joint. I'm gonna get home, clean it out. But I actually took my elbow and hit the ground, and the handle of the camera just barely kissed the dirt. It didn't even hit the ground hard, just enough to get a little bit of dirt in the joint. Man, I thought I'd done busted it. But it held up. But supposedly those things are pretty ruggedly built. But yeah, I didn't have the fate that poor Adrian's camera had. So yeah. I don't shoot 35 a lot. For some reason, I hop over that. I shoot 24 and 28 and 50. And this is a 50. This is my Summicron, my Leica Summicron R that I mount on the SL2 and my CL. But but yeah, I'm not super like. I don't use 35. I just don't for some reason. I have a 35. I have a Leica 35, an old one. This is from the 60s. And I've shot with it a time or two, but I end up putting it on the CL, which makes it look like a 50 on the SL2. I end up shooting it to where it's a longer appearing focal length. I'm just, for some reason, I don't use 35. And I don't understand it. I tend to favor the telephoto side of things, or I hop way down into the 20s. And I normally don't shoot super wide, except occasionally I will use this. This is a 10 to 15 mil on the Z50, and like if I want to do like some kind of weird perspective shot or something occasionally. If you haven't seen Tim Childers' video, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Tim Childers is a photographer based in Chattanooga too, and he just started his channel, I don't know, a few months ago, and we linked up and we went and did a little photo walk in Rossville, Georgia down here together a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I think it was about a week ago. And his video went live yesterday. So if y'all are interested, he's a storyteller and he's good at it. He likes to talk about the video. He'll dialogue in front of the camera, kind of like I'm doing with this live stream. And then he'll show you the photos he's captured. He'll do occasional video on location, but he's really interesting storyteller. I like his videos. But he put his up, and you can see me taking a photo. I have this, and I've switched it because it's right here. You switch it between camera and video just by throwing that switch. And I'll switch it, and I'll run it to 10 mil, and I'll get right up on something and take a picture, you know. And he got a photo of me doing that, which is pretty unusual. Like I said, I don't do it a lot, but let's see what we're missing here. I've seen a bunch of comments happening. Let me catch up. Don't drive nails with it. Oh, Gary says my 10525 is so darn nice. I bought another one just for insurance and use it all the time. I had two for a while, and I wound up selling one. I kept what I consider to be the nicer one. I like my 2.5. I like it because it's 105 millimeters, and it's f2.5 aperture, but it's only like this big. It's tiny, and that's nice when you want to put it on like my crop center cameras. You know, it makes it like a 160 mil or whatever. So it's beautiful for portraiture. And it's just compact. It's really small. That's what I like about that lens. That's the reason I have one of them. Because you got it sitting next to this 105. It makes this thing look like it's a 200 millimeter or something, because it's just tiny sitting beside, and they're all 105s. And my f4 macro. I have a micro Nikkor, an old one. There's a video, if you go to the lens playlist, the lens review playlist, you can find it about the 105 f4. I think it's an f4 micro Nikkor. It's from the early 70s. It's a, I want to say it's a pre-AI, because it had the fixed, it has the aperture ring without the cutout for the feeler lever. And I actually went and milled a notch in it because it was cheap. When I bought it, it wasn't but like 70 bucks. So I stuck it in the mill machine and milled a clearance notch so I could get it on my D810 without damaging it, and it actually reads the aperture feeler properly. So I modded it. It's a hack job. I really should paint that silver spot in with a Sharpie pen. It would look a lot better, but it works, and the lens takes stellar photos. I always wind up buying these, what I think are going to be, you know, junk lenses to do these projects on. Like I bought that 200 millimeter. I think it's 200 millimeter f4, and I think it's an AI. And I was going to do that chip mod where you add the chip to it that you program for what your focal length is, so that the DSLRs will read it. And I done all that milling machine work to it and got the chip added to it, and then I took serious portraits with it, and it was like, wow, this lens is wonderful. So I ended up having to rethink that whole process. Let's see. Velo Rider says the 35 f2 is really good. He says it's not as good as the 28 f2. Man, 28 f2 would be awesome. Or the 50s, but it's good. Now, did I miss something up here? Ah, Velo says, how about that new ZFC? I think that's how all the Z cameras should have been styled in the first place. And I'm with you. It's, I made some jokes when it came out that, you know, I said, I already have a Fuji ZFC, I mean a Nikon XT3, I mean because it looks surprisingly like my Fuji XT3. Shockingly so. But I'm not buying one because I already have this little guy. Since the Z50 is pretty much the same camera. There's a few things that are different, like it has a bunch of autofocus improvements, but this thing's autofocus is pretty incredible. It actually has really good autofocus. So I'm just going to use this one. I've already got this one, and I've got it kind of dialed in for what I do, and it works really well for me. I use it for two things. I use it for wildlife photography and my vlogging. So I use the 10 to 15 millimeter DX Nikkor lens and the 500 millimeter Phase Fresnel are the only two lenses I ever mount to this camera. But yeah, if I didn't have my XT3 already, I would have one of those little cameras, because to me, I love the tactile interface. I really do like that, and that's one of the lures of the Leica. And if you notice, Leica knobs don't have titles or markings or any IDs. It's because they repurpose them when they do different jobs. Like it's got a thumb wheel on the back and it's not marked. This top knob's not marked. These buttons have no markings, and they do that because, well, number one, they're all programmable. So if they puts ISO on this knob and you remap it, then it's not ISO anymore. So they just don't mark them, and none of them have markings. See, the joystick don't. This button here doesn't. Well, actually, this one is, I don't know if you can remap that one or not. This is the one that does the toggling of the display functions. You know, you turn off the back display and only use the viewfinder, what have you. But there's also some buttons there's two function buttons on the front. But I think they didn't mark them because you don't look at them. Once you learn where they are, you just like, I know where the top one is focus magnification, the bottom one's exposure comp. And I know if I hit the bottom one, I can run the thumb wheel, adjust exposure compensation, and I can see it happening in the viewfinder. And it's a very prominent display at the bottom, and it's easy to see when you have exposure comp turn. You know, when you have some dialed in, it's yellow on a white scale, and it's very obvious. But the point I was making is this knob is very tactile. I mean, those are click deep. You done with that? How long is that going to take? That water running is way louder than that air conditioner. I'll catch up some comments. Wheeler Rider says, how's the autofocus on D lenses with the Z mount? It don't. The one thing, there was a Nikon rumor too. There should be a little screw right here to drive that autofocus lens. That was the one thing that every Nikon owner complained about, the F to Z. No screw drive focus adapter. And because of that, a lot of people didn't bother even getting them because of it. And I didn't for a long time. I didn't get a Z6 for a year because the F to Z wouldn't let me autofocus none of my screw drive glass. And it's a barrier to entry to some people. I mean, that's why some of these people are sticking to their DSLRs or D850s, because the D850 is a phenomenal camera and it'll drive the screw drive lenses. I mean, you got to make a more compelling argument if you want them to move to the new Z cameras. What you need to do, Nikon, is throw them a bone. If you're listening out there, you need to make that AFD to Z adapter, so that, and trust me, if you make them, they'll sell every one of them. You'll sell out. You won't have a surplus of those adapters. Every one of them will be gone if you release them. If you bundle them with a Z6, you'll sell them all. I'm just warning you, when you make that adapter, you're going to sell them all because everybody's waiting on it. You have generated a demand for a product. I want one. I actually want two. I have two of these F to Zs because I got one with my Z50 kit and I got one with my Z6 kit. So I have a pair of these. I would have a pair of those others. I absolutely would have a screw drive adapter if they made it. I don't normally get on waiting lists, but I'd get on that one because that 105 on the Z6 would be awesome with autofocus. The ZFC does look cool and retro, but it's not for me, and I'm old school. It's small. You know, they got it, it's built into a Z50 frame, and you can see how small the Z50 is. I mean, the hand grip on it, when I grab it, I can get all the fingers mostly on it. This one's actually getting a hold of it, but it's, you know, that little finger drops off pretty rapidly. It doesn't have a lot of grip. It's enough that you can hold on to it, but this one actually is really well engineered. The grip's deep enough that even my big hand doesn't knuckle the lens. I mean, it's not like a Sony at all. I mean, they've got that for a small camera. This is a really, really well engineered piece of equipment. So now that the ZFC has come out, these will probably get cheaper. And it's an amazing little camera. I'm telling you, if you're looking for a compact Nikon camera, this thing is pretty sweet. Don Jones says Nikon just can't keep up with the demand on the new Z lenses. Yeah, I mean they're stellar lenses. I don't have any of them in my bag tonight. I don't really have a need for one of them with me. Since I've got the SL2, I can't really shoot a Z lens. Seeing Gary says that's why he kept his old Nikon DSLRs, and that's why I keep my D8 and 10, is because it'll drive them. And it's a really wonderful camera, and it takes great photos too. So I'll hang on to that camera, and I use it from time to time, especially with that 105. And I don't know, I got 3 or 4 screw drive lenses. I've given a couple away. I'd have to go through and look. Oh, Velo Rider says they're out of water in the West Coast. Ooh, not good. So you use it if you got it, LOL. Wow, I didn't know that. Bass Anglers here. Am I late to the party? Not much. You ain't bad late. They Nikon kept them, okay. Would they need the screw drive motor in the body or in the adapter? If they have to put it in the adapter. There's no way for them to add it to the body because the flange distance is wrong. When you have a Z mount, here's an example. There's the flange mount distance from the center plane of an F mount lens, because this is an F mount lens. That's the flange mount distance for a Z mount lens. So you have to make up that distance. So they would absolutely have to put it in the adapter to where it would actually be able to interface with the lens. But yeah, and it would have to have the motor somewhere in there. So it would have to have this protrusion, kind of like the F to Z has, to have room for a motor to drive that system. But they could get it in there. They're just choosing not to for some reason. And it was on the Nikon rumors. Yeah, it'll be expensive. But in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't be super expensive. But it'd be a nice bridge tool that they could bring a lot of their DSLR shooters into the Z cameras if they would produce that mount. It would be a nice bridge tool. Nikon, if you're listening, that screw drive F to Z would be a sweet bridge implement to bring them in. Those people have a suite of lenses and they just don't want to give up those lenses, so they keep shooting their DSLRs because of it. The D500 and D850 have become staples in a lot of inventories because of that fact. Let's see what we got. Keg isn't floating yet. Ooh, no. Nikon bean counters want us to buy the new pricey Z-Glass, similar to pre-AI back in the day. Corporate greed wins. Yeah, but people ain't buying it. Well, the new shooters are. That's the difference. Say like, I didn't buy any Z glass with this. It came with the kit lens, but I didn't buy any extra lenses to go with this whatsoever, because I knew I was going to be vlogging with it. So I got this little F mount 10 to 15 millimeter DX lens and put it on, and this is the way it rides. It just stays like this all the time. And I think there's a lot of that. Now you got some people like Phil Thatch. When he buys a camera, he normally kits it, okay? That's what I've noticed about him. He doesn't normally just get the camera and then pick and choose lenses. He'll buy the camera, and he'll typically get, like if it's a DX system, he'll get the 16 to 50 and the 50 to 200 or 50 to 150 or whatever that combination is. It's like with a full frame, it would be something like the 24 to 70 and the 70 to 200. He buys that kind of a kit. He'll always do that. If you'll ever notice, like when he got his Z50, he got the 2 kit lenses that gives him that region, and that's because he prefers zoom lenses, and it's simpler for him. He's only got 2 lenses, covers the whole focal range, and he just goes out and shoots. And I think there's a lot of those people, and they're selling those kitted lenses, and that's where a bunch of those lenses are going. But they've got to look back to their user base that supported them all the way up to the Z cameras that existed. Those guys are what made them who they are. That's why I say that if they would throw them a bone and make that little F to Z with the screwdriver motor in it, they would bring so many of them guys over into Z cameras. And then once they're into the Z ethos, they catch a 24 to 70 F4 on sale, pick it up. Well, now they've got one, and they see how light they are, and how good the image quality is coming out of them. And you're like, well, maybe that 70 to 200 I was going to get, I was going to get that FLF mount. Maybe I'll get that Z mount one instead. That's how people's thinkings work in the U.S. So it's just strange to me that they didn't do it. Yeah, they even turned an F3 into a digital camera back in the day. If they could make an autofocus adapter for the F3 in the 80s, Nikon could definitely make a better adapter with screw mount. The current adapter is so ugly. I use it. It works. I mean, for me, I have the, let me see. What I've done here is I've added a bunch of tech. I've added an Arca Swiss base to my little Manfrotto mount, and I've put a plate on that adapter. What that does is that gives me a little better balance point, as you can see. It sits more centered on the tripod. I've got it leaned forward so I can walk and hold it out in front of me and talk to the camera, but you get the idea. It kind of centers it better over the tripod mount, and I like that. It worked really well for me for that, but I can see what your point is with that. But I think there's some chips and stuff in there, and that's why they put that extrusion on there. They've got some electronics in there to make it couple between the F mount circuitry and the Z mount circuitry, and they needed space to put that. And they thought, well, they had to add space to get the chipset in there, and then they went ahead and said, okay, well, if we extrude it down another, 5 millimeters, we can put a 1/4-20 stud in it and make some kind of external function out of it. I'm pretty sure that's why they went that way. I mean, I don't know. I haven't cut one open to see, but I'm guessing that's what's going on. There's some semiconductor devices down in that, underneath, behind that 1/4-20 studded socket. Yeah. Okay. Think they'll release the Z9 soon? Yes, I do. I'm kind of surprised that hasn't already happened. Let's see. How do I type in the comments? Is it this? No. I can't type in my own comment. What's this button do? Oh, hey, look at that. There's black and white and whatever that is, and there's normal. We'll go back to that. But I'll turn that off now. Maybe. I think I'm back. Am I back? I think I'm back. Counter's still counting. It said something about it lost connection where I was messing with it. Are y'all guys there? Tell me out. Give me some kind of signal. Let me know. I see the people are still here. You killed the stream. Oh no. Somebody got to come up with the idea. Yeah. I wonder if they're. Okay, good. Yes. All right. Yeah. Woody broke the stream. Somebody type in this name in the comments. Tim Childers. I don't have a way of putting it in there. He's an older gentleman. He started when I found him, he was doing videos about the pandemic and how he was coming out of it. But he got like a pretty short haircut. His hair is white now. I don't know what color it used to be. Present. Damn gnat keeps flying in my ear. It bugs me to death. I don't know if y'all can see him. It's like I can hear him. It's one of them little tiny ones. I think the English or the British call them midges. Tim Childers. Tim Childers, not T-I-J. If somebody can, yeah, Tim Childers. If somebody can drop a link to his channel in here, it'd be handy. But is that right? Yes, it is. In one and out the other. Yeah. That's a distinct possibility. Hey, I wanted to share this with you too. I am now officially part of the DJI Osmo Action family. Me, Adrian Alfred, and Phil Thatch actually bought one too. He was not happy with his new GoPro Hero 8. My 7s all died from various forms of death. One of them, the IBIS function failed in it, and there's a video last year when it failed describing that, and the other one had something else wrong with it. I don't remember what. I think the mic input went bad on it. The external mic deal, the USB socket that you plug it into went bad on it. That's what it was. You could use the camera alone and it worked fine, but you couldn't add the external mic module. It wouldn't work. So I finally got rid of them, and then I got the Z50 for my vlogging camera, so I didn't have an action camera for a while, and I kept needing one for like my POV stuff. Okay, this is what it looks like when you set up a camera for point of view vlogging. You have a hot shoe adapter, and it puts the GoPro directly above the camera. So this camera sees what this camera sees. And I've actually shot 1 or 2 videos already with this, and it works really well. The Osmo Action is everything the GoPro should have been. I'll just be honest with you. And I bought mine second-handed off eBay. I only gave like $170, $80 for it, and it came with all the stuff. I even got some kind of little adapter that allows you to put in an external mic. But yeah. So if you want a decent little action cam, these things are actually on sale right now for some reason. Rumor has it is everybody's kind of the consensus that DJI is about to drop the Gen 2 version of this, and because of that, the Gen 1s have suddenly went on sale everywhere. So you can get these for just a couple $100 brand new, and they're great. The rock steady stabilization in them works. It absolutely works. So I got my first taste of one of these with Aaron. Aaron bought one, and last fall he brought it to the Fellowship of the Aperture Ring, and we played with it, and we put it in the car, and there's a piece of footage in the video about the Fellowship of the Aperture Ring trip where we did a time lapse driving down the road, and that was captured on his Osmo Action. And then when I went to Costa Rica, he loaned me his, and I took it down there, and I did a video with it, and it's in the little section. If you go to the section, it says I don't remember if I called it's a playlist called Road Trips or something. But you can actually see one of those videos where I use that Osmo Action, and it works very well. So these are great little cameras if you need a good little action camera, and they're actually waterproof properly. They're well done. DJI did a really good job on them. I just wished I'd have got into them before I spent all that money on GoPros. But yeah, give me a second here. My little hot shoe cover. There's no telling what this thing costs from Leica, so I'm gonna make sure I put it back. It's probably like $100 for that little piece of plastic. iPhone video stabilization is getting really good these days. I'll just be honest with you, the one on my iPhone on my X ain't bad. Thank you, Bass Angler. Anybody that was hearing me talk about Tim Childers and his video, Bass Angler has dropped a link to his channel in the comments, and I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would go over there and give his videos a look or two, and maybe give him a subscribe. Let's get him up to 1,000 subscribers. Let's just kind of shock the system on him. I think he's at 300 and something now. And when I subscribed to him, he had maybe 18 or something like that. So I've been following him from basically the beginning, so I'm curious to see what he does. Phil's here. Hey, Phil. I was just telling everybody how we're all now DJI Osmo people. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Bass Angler, I appreciate it. It's just Tim Childers on YouTube. Yes, it is. Moody says, give something away. I need to win again. Was that a bird that flew by the window? Okay, let me get back here. Mine comes in Thursday. I thought you already had yours. I watched Adrian Alfred's video on his, and he had some of the same problems with his that I have with mine, except I don't do the voice command thing. And now that I never gave it a second thought with this one, but since he showed how well it worked, I'm probably going to activate it on this one so I can do the whole voice command with this thing. Because that would be convenient. And I just never used it on the GoPro because it was so buggy. Ray says he wants the DJI Pocket too. Oh, okay. You ordered it Saturday. Yeah, holiday weekend. You'll never make it here that quick. All right, guys. I'm about to have to run and get some electricity. I just like gadgets. I'll be right back. Give me 10 seconds. I got to get a charging cord. This thing's run out of battery. Oh, wait. Do I have a cable in there? No. Hey y'all, this camper is equipped with USB sockets in the wall because it's like a car, so I can add some electricity and hopefully, I think that's hot. I got a wall charger behind me, but I'm not close enough. Let's see. Yeah, that outlet right there has a wall power in it. I don't think this is charging. real sure. Don't look that way. Repositioning coming up. Woo! All right, guys, we're moving over to here now. I'm gonna move the chair back onto the carpet. I had it slid across the room, so I can plug this into here. I don't know, maybe it was charging. Oh well, we'll figure it out together. Okay. And my bottle of water and my camera that I was playing with. Now, here we go. Okay, we'll lay that there. All right. Well, now we're in this location. Hey, look, I got better light here anyway. I'm pretty sure this outlet's hot, so I can always test it with this. Shh, don't tell anybody, but I USB charging camera a lot. There's people that linger that don't really approve of that. I don't with this charger though, because that's USB-C and that's micro. Oh, Fast Angler was asking about the SL2. The SL2 does charge with USB-C, and we're charging, so that means the outlet's on. Oh, see, the little green light. This LED is 3 colors so far that I'm aware of. When you log in with the Leica Photos app to like snatch pictures out of the camera for whatever reason, a lot of times I do it. Like I'll do snapshots and give them to the family, and it'll turn red when it's connecting, and then when the Bluetooth connects, it blinks red and blue. So this LED is at least 3 colors. It's kind of neat. But this thing is awesome, Bass Angler. I was out shooting with it, and Bass Angler wasn't here at the beginning, and the mighty 105 F2 DC Nikkor. Villa Rider says I got Q2 gas. Well, I'm gonna just be honest with you. The Q2 is an amazing camera. If you like 28mm, get one. Anybody that's bought one that I know has loved it. Are you still in here, Cuban Rum? Huh? What? Oh no. Am I dropping out now? Can't see the signal strength. Yeah. No, Cuban Rum has a Q, I think, or is it a Q2? Hey, this is what we'll do. I can move back. Your video is good, okay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna test that outlet right quick. Yeah, it's hot. That outlet was working just fine. Shot with this all day today. We'll charge this up tonight. There we go. All right, so it's not cutting out or choppy or anything. It should be good. I don't know if I've shared with you guys. Where are you, David? I'm at my camper. We're out in East Ridge, Tennessee, off of Max Smith Road at Holiday Travel Park. Cuban Rum says, I would love to still get the Q2 someday. There we go. That's pretty convenient, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Is the Q? I'm gonna ask this question and sound less Leica-ish than I should be. Is it rangefinder style, or is it SLR style with the center located viewfinder, or is it rangefinder with it on the corner? I don't remember. Because I know like my CL is rangefinder styling. It's got the viewfinder on the corner like an M, but it's scaled down. I don't remember. It's rangefinder. Okay, so yeah, it's offset viewfinder. Is it actual legit viewfinder or is it a EVF like my CL? Ray says David is 2.4 miles away from me. Come on over, Ray. Join me on the stream. I got another chair literally right there. We can drag it around. Oh, that's the lens cap for this lens. Oh, and I used to be a sucker for legit lens caps. Don't buy Nikon or Canon or whatever. This is a ProMaster. You can get these cheaper lens caps at any camera shop, and they work perfectly, and they're a fraction of the money of the ones that say Nikon on them or Leica on them or whatever. You know, a lot of my secondhand lenses I bought didn't come with lens caps, so I always like to have caps for them. And when I found these, I think I got these at F32 Camera in Knoxville. They had a whole wall full of them, and it was kind of nice because, you know, they're the good high quality pinch style lens caps. And you can probably get them off Amazon too, truth be known, but I like to support the local camera shops, and this is an easy way to do that because they're fairly cheap. And yeah, I'll always, like, if I look at my lenses and if I've got skips that don't have a cap, then I'll get some. But yeah, don't buy the Nikon ones unless you're buying them like off of eBay and you're buying them second hand. You can get them a little cheaper that way. Somebody might have 3 Nikon lens caps for sale or something. I buy the rear ones that way off of eBay pretty regular. Because for some reason I lose the rear ones. You know, these things. And there's about 3 or 4 generations of these. And the earlier ones ain't as good as the newer ones. The newer ones actually have a locator on them, and they bite really well. No, it's the older ones that have to go on in a certain orientation. The newer ones fit in any position, and they fit really well and they stay good. And like these L-mount ones, these are just cheap ones off of Amazon. I got a bunch of these, mainly because the adapters, I leave them mounted on the lenses, and that way I don't have to have all these different lens caps that goes on the lenses themselves, and I don't have to keep them separated from the adapter. I just leave the adapter on and stick an L-mount lens cap on the mount on the adapter, and I keep them like that. And the F-mount one is on the camera physically, so but yeah, I've learned to do that with my adaptive glass. ProMaster makes everything now, tripods, filters, etc., etc. The Bedfords, Aaron and I visited, sells ProMaster. Yeah, it seems to be very prolific. Don Jones asked, do you use UV filters to protect your lenses? I am not a UV lens guy. I am what they call a naked glass shooter, and there's 2 schools of thought there. See, no filters. And the reason is that this lens is pretty much the pinnacle of 50 millimeter engineering from the 90s. And unless you're willing to spend the money on B&W or, you know, the top tier filters, the best filters, Nissi or whatever, you know, that's really, really well made. You know, you don't want to buy a $15 Vivitar filter and stick it on your $2,000 50 millimeter prime. I mean, the first thing the light passes through is that $20 piece of crap glass on the front, and then this lens tries to do something with what's left of it. So I'm the guy who shoots naked glass. I've always done that. I have some. I have a pile of them actually. I take them off the lenses when they come in. But yeah, I've never been one of them, like, you know, here you are. See, I just don't do it. I understand the reason behind it, and I saw it in practice. I gotta admit, I saw a filter take the hit for Aaron. He had a tripod fall over. One of the years we was in the Greenbrier up in the Smoky Mountains, I think it was the second year, we were doing long exposures of a creek bed, getting nice water blur, and we had like 10 stop NDs, and he had borrowed one of mine, and he had his circular polarizer and the ND together on there. I think I had a 5-stop ND and he had a CPL on it, and something happened with the tripod and it fell over and it landed and the filter took the hit and it destroyed the filter, but the lens was fine. So there is merit to that ideology. Honestly, I was thinking about, instead of putting glass in it, making threaded brass rings that screw into the filter thread, and that way I can put, I could make it basically have a boss on it, so it's basically a bumper, like a car bumper, that would screw into the filter thread of the lens, and then you would have it threaded, and you would just thread the ID to snap your lens cap in, and that way you could get the benefit of the brass ring without the optical glass problems that come with cheap UV filters. But yeah, I've never believed in them for some reason. I've just never used them. I bought one when I first bought. I bought an 18 to 200 Nikkor when I bought my D7000, and when I bought that lens, it came with a UV filter. It was part of the deal. Like, I ordered it through the mail, and I don't remember what camera place I bought it from, but they threw one in, kind of thing. And I stuck it on the lens and shot it for years like that. Matter of fact, when I sold it, it might have still had it on it, but I never actually went out and got them extra. We'll move this a little closer, mainly because I can get to the comments better. Cuban Rub says he uses a lens hood as a form of protection, and I do that too. Unfortunately, like, this lens hood is one of those telescoping ones, so yeah, it actually doesn't collapse real easy. It actually sets offset. See how it does? All of these slip out ones do that, but it locks, so if it fell against it, it would bite it and it'd protect the lens. Now here's the bizarre part. I don't know if you can see it, if I can get the angle right. I can't. The inside of this pull-out lens hood is threaded. There's your filter thread for this lens. And it's also got a filter thread on the inside of the lens itself. So this is threaded, and so is that. Leica does some weird stuff at times. Here's an example of what not to buy. It's a Leica lens cap. It came with the lens, but if I lost this lens cap, it would be a ProMaster back in its place, because they all do the same job. But yeah, that's a good question though, and like I said, I saw the validity in the idea. I did see it that day, but if I was going to buy them, I would be buying the very expensive ones. Cuban Rum says, I liked your Western States videos. Really? Oh, Bass Angler said that. Okay. You talking about the road trip series? I'm gonna back up. I missed some comments. Cuban Rum says, I don't like using UV filters. Gary Arbuckle says, less glass is always better. Yeah. I fell off a ledge and broke the filter and camera lens. Went that way, I went the other. Woo. Yeah, I've had some close calls with mine. Like today, I almost deep sixed this SL2. I've done told the story once. I may tell it again here in a minute. Bass Angler says, I found the cheaper single coated ones take forever to clean, but expensive multi-coated ones clean so easy. That's an interesting thing. Never had that. Oh, Bass Angler is talking to Cuban Rum. Oh, I get it now. Now. I am so sorry. I have to pay attention better. Robbie Baxter's here. How you doing, Robbie? Thank you for stopping in. Yeah, I see it now. All right, I'm backing up. It would take you 20 minutes to drive the 2.5 miles. Oh. Oh, okay. So the Q has an EVF. Okay. It says it's like the CL, but the CL has a better viewfinder. Interesting. That's interesting to know. I'll tell you. If you're getting aging eyes, okay, just gonna throw that out there for you older or more senior photographers. This lens might seem expensive, or this camera might seem expensive, but hear me out, okay? Number one, you only get to ride this ride one time, okay? I'm just gonna put that out there. Number two, this has the best EVF literally on earth in a production camera. On earth, this EVF, it's like looking through the lens. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a different experience. People say, oh, it's because you paid a lot for it, you're having to justify your expense. No, I have Nikon cameras and I still shoot them. I shot my Z6 all weekend. I didn't get this out at all until today. I have an XT3. I don't shoot my XT3 much anymore, mainly because I shoot my CL and this. Mainly this is because it's the honeymoon phase. I'll just be honest with you. That there is some truth in that, but I like my CL for my street photography now because it's smaller, lighter, and it's just a little more. What's the right word? Intuitive, maybe. But the XT3 is still good, and I like it, and Sierra likes it. So I hang on to it because when she wants to shoot with me, I give that to her, and she likes using it. So I have it, but this is the best EVF I have ever looked through. And EVFs are a big deal to me. I have learned through the years, the optical viewfinder is fine, but with an EVF, I have so much better, I have a better experience. And that's why I have this now for my little vlogging camera, the EVF, and this little guy is pretty good. It's a pretty good EVF. But this thing is just, it's next level. It really is. Plus it has IBIS. Plus it has a 47 megapixel sensor. Plus it has unrealistic dynamic range. The Maestro 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever version processor in it. I don't know. The colors are magical coming out of Leica. Now I do set it to the vivid color profile. That's just the way I roll. All of my Nikons, whenever I shot JPEGs and RAWs, I always set the JPEGs to vivid. The XT3 is different because you have to pick those film profiles. I normally run not Astia, but the next one down, Provia maybe. It had more saturation, so it's kind of their version of vivid. But yeah, I can normally take the out of camera JPEGs. Well, all my Z6 shots over the weekend, very few of them had any edits at all. Literally, typically if there's a window in the background of a bunch of those photos, and if it metered because of that window and it metered to seem darker, I would go in and raise the exposure by typically from 1/3 to a half stop to get the exposure up. Then I left it alone. The rest of the time, I down-resed them for internet viewing. I down-resed them to a 4K image, basically 4,000 pixels by whatever the height is. I don't know, 4,000 by 3,000 or whatever. It would scale down from 6,000 to 4,000. You scale that down. But by doing that, the images go down to about 350 kilobytes. So they're not such. They don't eat so much bandwidth. And I can upload them to an album on Facebook and share them with my Sacred Heart friends, and they can see them, and it's not a real burden to view them either, and people will, and they're using them on the internet. So it being a 4K image, they're looking at it 99% of the time on a 2K monitor you know, a 1080p monitor is 1920 pixels by 1080, which works out to a 2 megabyte image. And I'm already showing them an 8 megabyte image as it is. So, you know, even down resing it there, it's still better image quality. And I save all the full res at home. So if somebody emails me and says, hey, could I get that image so I could, you know, make a frame print for my friend out of it, then I'll send them the full res file, you know, the full res edited JPEG. And because I've got the RAWs as well. I keep all that. I data storage it, but I don't use them. I like to use the straight out of camera JPEGs, and this one's the straight out of camera JPEGs are just stunning. No, that's the only word I can use for it. But yeah, the EVF for me is a big deal. Yeah, I've ranted about that long enough, I guess, but that's something that's always mattered a lot to me, because with my eyes, I don't like to, okay, I'm going to tell you why it matters now. I don't know how photographers look through their glasses, through the viewfinder. I don't understand how they do that, because what happens when I do that is there's skin oils on this rubber. It gets right on the lens, and now you got this big smudge you're looking through the whole time until you clean that crap off your glasses. So what I do is I drop them down, I'll raise my hat up, or I'll turn around backwards, and I'll look over my glasses, and I'll look straight through the viewfinder, because you have this wonderful little knob that allows you to focus the viewfinder to fit whatever you're looking at. Now, I guess your eyes could be bad enough that ain't got enough adjustment. Maybe that's why. But for me, I set these to where I'm looking at them without my glasses, and that way, if I need to read, I need these because they have bifocals made into them for reading primarily. I can see pretty much normally past about 5 feet. I mean, up close, everything starts to get a little blurry, and like without my glasses, I can't see hardly. I have to look hard to see that it says 13 viewing and 15 likes. Yeah, see my point. But to look through these EVFs, I just focus them to fit my natural eye, and it makes it easier for me. But yeah, that was a game changer. With the D810, I was having trouble seeing the scene. I got it adjusted to where I can, so if it's well lit, I can see just fine. 16 likes now. Sorry, I forgot. Oh yeah, if y'all haven't hit the like button, y'all smash that like button for me. That'd be a big help. And I was telling them, Tim Childers dropped this video about where we went on our photo walk in Rossville. Mine comes out toward the end of July. I've got a queue built, and it's fit into the queue, and it's, I don't know what day exactly, but it's toward the end of July is when mine will come out. But yeah, his came out yesterday. So if y'all haven't watched it yet, I really enjoy his storytelling. I'm just going to throw it back in there. But what was I saying earlier I was going to do? Oh, bass angler, you still in here? If you are, what you see me doing, sir, eye detect autofocus is a game changer for me for mirrorless cameras. Yeah, saying use zone focusers. I'm a zone focuser. This one, dude, the zone on this thing is pitiful. Look at that. And so there's your center mark, and them numbers beside it are F16. This is a terrible zone focusing lens. This is more my speed. You'll notice the space is a lot wider. It's like the one I think it's the one that's on it. Yeah, this 24 millimeter. Look at these zone marks. Look how wide they go. They go way out here, and that's for F22, is it? Yeah, F22 goes from there all the way to there is in focus. So if we set that on infinity, let's see, it comes around here to, that's 1.5 feet, At f/22, everything a foot and a half to infinity is in focus on the 24 millimeter. No focusing required. Just hold it up, take the photo. But yeah, I don't worry too much. Like even over the weekend, I wasn't using eye detect autofocus, mainly because I was shooting at a crowded event and I was trying to focus on a certain person when I was doing the photos. You have at Sacred Harp, you have 4 sections of singers kind of encapsulating a square area, and a song leader stands up to lead their song in that area. And I want to get the song leader in focus. So trying to use eye detect, dude, I turned it on. Bad idea. There's like 50 eyes. That thing's like going all over the frame trying to figure out which one I want to focus on. So I turned that off and I just picked the small zone, the little box about the size of a person's head, and I just left it kind of pushed off to one side so I could do compositioning with it. And I would wait for them to turn and face into the frame, and normally they did. If they didn't, I would reposition and I'd move it to the other side. And I just put that block box on their face or on their head and just focus on their face, and it worked fine. Yeah, everyone is moving their hands, so the photos often have nice gestures. Yeah, Phil's seen them. And I normally try to get them when they're beating time with their hand up or in the upper half, because it doesn't look as goofy. If you catch them with their hand at the bottom of the timing stroke, they just look like they're throwing something on the floor, and it don't look right. It's kind of odd. So yeah, I always try to catch it with their hand up in the timing, because what they're doing is they're marking the time with their hand is what they're doing. And so everybody stays in time in the song. But yeah, it just works out that way. I in-camera delete like mercilessly. So when I get home, I have minimal culling to do. And if it turns into a moment where I don't have time to go back through, something happened there, and go back through and cull, or cull in camera, I will have a few culls at home. But like when I got home, I might have had to cull 5 photos. I had to bring up the exposure on 3 or 4, and then I resized them and dumped them on Facebook. And it was that simple. Yeah, I like the colors well enough coming out of camera. I didn't even mess with them. But it was also, 170 photos a day, something like that. So, it would be time consuming to individual edit those. And just for social media sharing, it just didn't bring the value as far as that. Like I said, people will look at them once or twice and then they're done with them. And, I may make something out of them later, but most people just want to see it. They'll go back through those singings if someone dies. Like, if you're on my Facebook feed, you'll notice I posted about a guy named Coy Ivy, and I put a picture up that I took of him at a singing about 3 or 4 weeks ago at that same church. They call it a memorial singing, and that's their small church oriented one. And then what they had last weekend is called a convention, and it's a 2-day event, and it's like, it brings people in from all over the nation. Sometimes people come from Europe and sing, but yeah, that at the Ivy Memorial, Coy was there, and I keep getting these. Oh, I know what's happening now. And what? Well, hey, Joy, I didn't know you was here. And Grant, there's Grant too. Okay, what I do for Don Jones has said, I'm going to jump tracks now. But Don Jones asked, what do I do to send large files? Okay, if I'm like putting them on the internet, I used to use Dropbox. And Dropbox works fine, but it's just, they want you to pay for the storage. And yeah, I'll get back to that in a minute, Velo. But what I use now is I use Google Photos, and since I have a Gmail account, Georgiaphotog@gmail.com, it comes with a Google Photos account, And you can put so many gigabytes of images in it. So it's my temporary. I'll upload images there if someone's wanting some, and then I'll create a folder and I'll send them a link to that folder, and they can download whatever they want out of that folder, and it works. And it works pretty well. I have pretty good luck with it. So I did have some problems with it here a while back. I was talking to somebody in here that might even be in the chat tonight that was talking about they were going to print a photo for me, and I was trying to upload my image, and it kept failing. It kept down-resing it automatically. And I don't remember why. I don't remember what the deal was with that one. But 99% of the time, the full res files go just fine. But I use it a lot. Oh, hey, look, there's Peter Nagy. Man, everybody's showing up now. Velo Rider says, death memorial photos are the best. And that's what I was saying was, I had caught a photo of Coy relaxing at the Ivy Memorial singing, and he was marking time. He had his arm resting on the church pew, and he was just beating time with his hand, just basically wrapped in the music, you might say. And I dropped that in the album and put it in there, and of course everybody loved Coy. He was like the granddad that everybody liked, you know. Well, he passed away between the Ivy Memorial and the Henniger Union Convention. So it was kind of a somber Henniger Union Convention because he had just passed. And so I made my post and I shared that photo out of that album, because that's the way I remember him. Because I haven't known him but for the last maybe 15 years, you know, and he was like 84, I think, when he passed away. So, you know, a lot of those people knew him all their lives, and so they knew a different version of him than I knew, but that was the one I knew, so that's what I talked about. It was kind of neat, you know, to share that. Oh, come back. I'm trying to do the chat. Okay. Sorry, I didn't bring my mount. Trying to do the chat, and I'm going to turn off the stupid window again. Phil says, you're not going to believe this, but I'm seriously considering buying a photo printer of some sort. I wished you would. Your photos need to be printed. Did somebody say that out loud? There should be so many photo books at your house. So many. Oh, all of those wildlife photos that you and Heather get. There needs to be, you need to sit down and build a photo book. Build one of warblers, seriously, and build one of wrens and raptors. Yeah, and print them. Man, you got so many wonderful images. Oh, Gary's going to be in town. Shoot me an email. I am interested. Ink tank printer is what Don Jones says. I'd say get one made by Canon. Supposedly Canon and was it Epson make the best photo printers. I haven't bought one, and I bought a photo quality printer probably 15 years ago. Printed about 3 images on it, and they were beautiful. And then we started printing documents for the machine shop on it, and it promptly quit working well. So, yeah. Let me back up here and see what I missed. So what's Grant been doing? Grant's here tonight. Hey, Joe, yeah, I seen your camper photos. Yours has 2 doors. Ours only has 1. We downsized. Our other one's 36 feet long, and we wanted one a little bit smaller because now that Sierra doesn't live with us anymore, she's moved out on her own. We don't need the extra space, so we got a single bedroom with basically You know, this is our living room. Let me just give you the tour. Yeah. And it has 2 recliners. Oh, I'm trying not to close the phone. Yeah, you got these recliners. I'm sitting in one, and then there's another one right there. But yeah, we got our big couch, and of course, all couches in campers are hide-a-beds. And then this thing is the dining room table that I have my vintage mountain bike parked in front of because I don't want it to like find a new home because I leave it outside. But yeah, look at this. Let's see here. Where's it at? It's this button. This is a 1996, I think, Gary Fisher Joshua XO aluminum full suspension mountain bike. I recently just replaced the wheels on it, and in doing so, I also installed new tires. And I have had this bike since 1994, and I bought it new from River City Bicycles. And it still rides really good. I've done all sorts of cockamamie things to it, like I reversed the brake levers because at the time I was riding motorcycles, and this is front brake. So on bicycles, this is front brake. So I was like, that's messed up. So I switched them. So on my bike, the brakes are backwards. Yeah, he got bought out by Trek. So now all the Trek bikes have the Gary Fisher lineage. So this is basically Trek before Trek was a thing. But yeah, they bought him out in like the late 90s. And they took the Y-frame design like my XO is built on. And Trek bikes used that chassis for a number of years. And now they're different. Yeah, Santa Cruz bikes and Marion bikes are also great bikes. But yeah, I haven't bought a new one in years. I almost bought a new one, got the belt drive with the single speed, because I don't do a lot of I quit doing that aggressive biking. I mean, this thing is beat up where I was doing rock crawling on it. It's got clipless pedals. I had the whole shebang, the shoes that locked onto the pedals, and yeah, you can look at it and see it lived hard when I was riding hard back in the 90s. And that's why I had to put wheels on it. I wore them out. The wheels had been warped so many times riding over rocks that I had adjusted the spokes till I stretched them out all the way to the limit. And they still wouldn't hold true. They were still running out some, so I went to buy new wheels. Pro tip: buy wheels while the bike is still new and put them up, because now I almost couldn't find wheels to fit my bike because now everything's disc brake. Mine are still V brakes. It doesn't have disc brakes, and to get rim brakes was hard to find. I never found a set of wheels, man. It was tough. I finally found a set, but yeah, I actually bought 2 or 3 sets of wheels looking for a set to fit it, and it almost become a comedy of errors. But I think they changed it so you'll have to buy new bikes. That sound like something else? Nikon, if you're listening, make an F-to-C with a screw mount in it. Let's see what I'm missing here. Oh, cancel that. There we go. You got to be careful. E-bikes are starting to get more popular. Yes, they are. You see them all over Chattanooga. Yeah, way easier to climb with. When we went to Costa Rica, we did a bicycle tour of the town of, whatever that town was called that we stayed in. I don't even remember the name of it now. Sonora? No, it wasn't. Nosara. We was in Nosara, Costa Rica. So we do this deal through the little resort we're staying in, to where we'd go on like this 2-hour bicycle tour of Nosara. Well, the bike shop's literally next door to the resort, so we walk over there. Well, we go over the day before to do the paperwork, and figure out which bikes we're going to need so they can have them prepped in the morning for us and all. Well, it's a 2-hour bike ride. So I was like, I'll just ride one of these new hot rod carbon fiber ones, and because you could pick the electric ones or the carbon fiber mountain bikes or the whatever street cruiser. You could pick whatever you wanted. I thought, I want to ride that hot rod new carbon fiber one. I want to see what that's like. So the girls got those electric bikes. We take off. Well, first thing he does is rides down to the beach, rides along the beach a ways. You ever rode in sand on a bicycle? It's not easy. Then we get done with that, and we promptly crank up this big ridge and over and down it, and then over another big ridge, and then he takes us out into the countryside, and we do, what was it? How many miles did we end up doing? Like 25 or some crazy crap? Like 20 or 25 miles on them stupid bicycles. By the time we got back, I was miserable. I was wearing street clothes. I was thinking we was going on this beach cruiser ride around town to see the sights. I wasn't expecting to do this big endurance ride. Should have been a clue when the guy showed up in a bicycle outfit with all the gear and let's see what we say here. I'm missing something. I just started a new project, 18 to 24 process camera with a 24-inch f11 red dot Atar, taking digital photo from a projected image, not from the glass, but from the lens side of a white screen. Some Russian photographers give me the idea. Man, that sounds complicated. You gone, Woody? Good night. Thank you for coming to the live stream. I appreciate it. You need to send a link, dude. I'm curious to see about that. There's got to be something there that I don't understand. That's pretty cool sounding. Man, you could get like, you could get like 200 megapixel images out of that. Video that came out just last Saturday about, it's easy but big. Yeah, my video that come out about the 75 to 150 Pentax, that bridge, I took this this Leica, it's 47 megapixels, okay, and I turned it up in portrait mode, and I did a multi-shot pano across that bridge from side to side, overlapping the images probably 2/3. There was something like 15 or 17 photos in the pan. It's just a single pano of that whole bridge from one bank to the other. I went out on that little dock where in the video they're backing the boats in the water at that boat dock. I walked out on that boat dock and just handheld snapped them and stitched them together. I bought a new piece of software to stitch panos with, by the way, because the free one couldn't handle that many megapixels. Long story short, it was a 348 megapixel pano. It was insanity levels of detail. Some of the stitching wasn't perfect because I was standing on a floating dock and I was shooting handheld, so it would have some overlap issues here and there. Very small ones. You had to zoom way in to even see them. You would have to print it probably 10 feet wide to notice them. And you could honestly go in Photoshop and push things around and fix how little they were. But it was insanity levels. You could see rivets on the bridge. Yeah, it blew my mind. I see why Phil likes panos so much now. Phil says he really kind of wants the ZFC, but now learning that Nikon has already announced that they can't keep up with pre-orders. That's a good problem to have. If you're selling everything you're making before you even make it, that's a good problem to have. The file size is the digital camera resolution. Wow. Okay, if there's anybody in here that's lingering around right now that hasn't done it yet, give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, because I would appreciate it. I'd like to see 25 tonight. What's this say? Cuban Rum says, I want a ZFC as well, but I am willing to wait. Yeah. No. Hey, I got that 25th like. Thank you, whoever did that. I need to do a giveaway. What was it Phil did one time? I had to do something stupid if I got 50 likes. I had to buy a Z50, that's what it was. Now I have one. I think I was going to buy another GoPro, but if I got 50 likes on that live stream he committed me to ordering a Z50. Just like take a photo from a projected slides from the screen. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I get it. Now I see. Okay. Did you pre-order? You got 25. Yeah. Buy a Z50. We done that, Phil. We done it. John Jones says Z50 for me. Oh, yes. That was an awesome live stream. There it is. No, you guys are silly. I can't think of something. Let's see. If I get 50 likes, I got to get the 50mm Summicron L. What was that? $5,000 for that lens. I really like shooting with my Summicron R. You know, the much more economical version. The lens quality. If you haven't looked yet, there's a couple of videos floating around YouTube where they interview the senior engineer of lens development at Leica, and he explains some of the stuff that went into those Summicron L primes, and like the resolution standards they hold those lenses to it's mind-boggling. It really is. And people wonder why they're so expensive. A big part of it is they're hand assembled, one at a time. They're kind of like it's kind of like Swiss watches, but it's lenses. The cameras are the same way. That their small production run, number one. The inspection quality control is on another level. It really is. But the small production run is a big piece of it. But on top of that, they have this, you know, they have, what do they call it, Leica tax. They built a premium brand out of their name, and they're kind of sticking to that, so everything's a little more expensive, even just because. But when you hear about the quality, like they measure it in line pairs per millimeter, and like Nikon and Canon typically measure to 30 or 40 line pairs per millimeter on their like top end glass. And then you have to have, like, I think the gauge, the recognized standard is like 85% contrast. In other words, you can see 85% of the lines are separate, or separations. And Leica does 60 for the Summicron L series, 60 line pairs per millimeter. So that's a black line and a white line is a line pair. So technically, what you and me would think of as a pair of lines would be a black line, a white line, and another black line. But that's 3 lines in their world, in the way they measure. So what they're looking for is the contrast between the black line edge and the white line. And they do 60 lines per millimeter. So I did that math one day. 1 millimeter is 0.03937 inches wide. So it's almost 40 thousandths of an inch wide. So if you did 60 into 40 thousandths, one of those lines is like 6/10 of 1,000th of an inch wide. And they're seeing they're seeing contrast resolution between those line pairs through that lens with their instrument. They're not sticking it on a camera and taking a picture. They're putting it in this optical instrument measuring device that measures that crap. But still, the resolution, they said it could easily, those lenses will easily resolve a 100 megapixel sensor with ease. That's incredible clarity. That's what's the word that you hear? Sterile or clinical. Clinical. That's clinical levels of not accuracy, sharpness. It's just crazy. But that's part of the reason those lenses are so expensive, is they put all that engineering into them. And they're not trying to market to the masses. They're trying to pick a very specific demographic, you know. But hence, I use this little guy. I mean, this lens takes phenomenal photos in my world. But yeah, it was interesting. There's several YouTube videos where he was at like Photokina, and they interview him. I think Hugh Brownstone interviewed him, and he talked about it. And I think the guys at Red Dot Forum at Leica, the Leica store in Miami, they interviewed him as well, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear it. It is from an engineering / kind of machinist background for like me. It was really interesting to hear that, and what, you know, the level of detail that they're taking these things to is just insanity. Get 50 likes by Canon. Dude, I'll have to have 500 likes to pull the trigger on an R6. R6 is big dollar cameras. You need that lens, Dave. One day, I'll buy it second-handed. One went the other day for $3,000. I almost cried. I was like, oh, that was so cheap. Because they're about double that new. And it was like new. It was just wanting to get rid of it. Cuban said that was an awesome live stream. Half of your Leica. See how expensive that is for 50 likes? No. Gary Arbuckle says, I'm concerned about Nikon glass now because they stopped making lenses in Japan. And I get your point, but I also understand this. The Chinese can make any product to any level of QC you need. So if you're willing to pay for the higher quality control standards, the Chinese can make high quality product. Not everything is this very poor quality stuff that we're used to seeing coming out of there. That's the stuff they send to the US normally. The Chinese have the capacity to make very nice equipment. My 500 millimeter phase Fresnel is made in China, and it works beautifully. Yeah, because I've seen Thailand on lenses now, and they built another factory somewhere else. Where is it? They got a factory in China, a factory in Thailand, and there's another one of the Micronesian nations. See, yeah, Phil's bragging on the 2500. I think it's made in Thailand, ain't it? Pretty sure. But yeah, this kind of stuff. Yeah, seeing that wrote on a lens is about to become a thing of the past for Nikon. Actually, it already has. These are basically going to be collectibles. China. Okay. Ooh. I kind of like Velo Rider's idea there. 50 likes equals a 50 millimeter Summilux. Woo. For you non-Leica people, that's a 50 millimeter f1.4. Canon still makes them in Japan, and Canon's a bigger outfit all around. I mean, from what I understand, they're just a bigger outfit. Gary Arbuckle says the Japanese are fanatical about their quality control. I think their new stuff is from Thailand. Yeah. Yeah, and I gotta admit, it was a downer to see where some of this stuff was made. Like, let's see this lens. I bet this is. Oh, what's it say on it? Yeah, this little 10 to 15 is made in Thailand. Pretty sure Z50, Thailand. And the Z50 is a great little camera. FZ's probably made in China. It's on. It's going to be under the foot where I can't see it. I ain't taking it off. But now, this you can have made in Wetzlar, Germany. I think this is made in Wetzlar. Yeah, this is made in Wetzlar. I had to check because they just opened a factory in Portugal because of some kind of deal with import tariffs in the United States and Germany. But Portugal doesn't have that same problem, so they built a factory to make lenses in Portugal. Leica did, just recently. Leica lenses used to have hand ground glass with their early stuff. Yeah, and like the elements in their lenses are hand aligned with some kind of special microscope to minimize chromatic aberration. Each lens is hand aligned. That's another one of the reasons their M lenses are so expensive. Those apochromatic ones, the aposummicrons, the apochromatic part is where they actually align the elements in such a way to remove chromatic aberration from the lens. And that's one of the reasons those lenses are so high, is that's a very tedious process, and each one has to be done individually. There's no automatic process for that. They have to put it in the machine and align the elements manually for every single lens. So yeah, not everything made in Germany, Portugal, and Canada. Yeah, no, don't frown on Canada. The Canadian Leica stuff is beautiful. The plant was built by Leica in Canada, and they held them to the same QC standards. The Canadian Leica stuff is beautiful gear. Yeah, and you can get it for a song because it says Canada on it. People, just like this Leica R. This is an R mount 50mm, okay? You know, Leica has the M mount, the R mount, the L mount, and there's another one. Oh, the S mount, which is their commercial grade cameras. The S series, the S007s and all that garbage, S1, S2s. But those are the four I'm aware of right off, and I'm pretty sure they make a Cine mount too, but we're not even going there. These fit their R mount cameras. R mount cameras were their SLRs from the 80s, 70s, and 80s, and into the 90s. Actually, I think they sold them up into the 2000s. The last one was an R9, but their R cameras, they were made by Minolta up to the R8. The R8 was the first Leica SLR. All of the ones prior to that were basically had the guts of a Minolta in them. They just wrapped it in a Leica shell. But these R mount lenses are like the stepchild of Leica. They're still Leica lenses, and they're beautiful lenses, and they produce wonderfully. But since they're R mount, nobody wants them. The cinema crowd loves them. They buy them and put them weird gear deals on them for focus pulling, and you'll see them Cine converted. They'll declick the aperture and put the focus puller gear deal on them and sell them as Cine lenses. They love them for cinema use, but you can get these things for literally a fourth of an M lens, and it's a wonderful lens. These are beautiful glass. Yes, it's like the stepchild of Leica for some reason. And even like when you watch those Red Dot Forum live stream videos, because they'll do like 2.5 hour ones, they'll always field a question about the R lens, and they'll be like, "We're not doing a video on R lenses." I don't know why they won't. I think it's because there's so many variations of the R lenses out there, because they have 2 cam lenses, 3 cam lenses, um, R or 3 or R only lenses. This one's an R only. I could show you, but the way over the years that they modified it to control the aperture and to transmit information to the camera, they put these little cams surfaces in there, so as you turn things, it would move a plunger in the camera and tell it stuff. Well, as the cameras progressed in technology, they didn't need the older equipment, and they eventually, like this one, only has the 3rd cam, so it's an R only lens. It won't fit the early, I don't remember the model now. There was some really early Leica SLRs, and you can't put this lens on those cameras, it won't work. You know, there's some cross compatibility issues with the newer stuff and the older bodies and things. And since there's so many variations of these lenses, they just don't want to touch it. It's kind of neat to see that. I was trained on like an M350 f1 more lens, so sharp. Phil says the Canon L glass is still made in Japan, but the non-L lenses are made here and there. And it makes sense to do that. But yeah, like I said, recently those opened a factory in Portugal, so you're going to start seeing their lenses coming in with made in Portugal on them instead of made in Germany. This one that says it right here, you can't see it because of the screen, but it says lens made in Germany. To get German made parts it's not hard to do, but you do pay a little bit of a premium for it. Like I said, the Canadian Leica is exactly the same, but cheaper, because it says Canada on it typically. Lights Canada. And there ain't nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful equipment. But right now, I have a Nikon lens mounted on this camera. I like using this 24mm. It's a great lens. Peter says, unfortunately, the lenses designed for SLR cameras crippled with the mirror box. Yeah, but it does, since the mirror box was placed in the camera, what you do gain is that moved the flange distance out. So that meant the lens had to be smaller to maintain the flange distance to the film plane. This is a good example of that. And since technology has progressed, this flange distance is now made up with this spacer, and now we can adapt this SLR lens to a host of other cameras with these flange adapters. That makes this, actually in my book, pretty desirable over the mirrorless lenses, because the mirrorless lenses won't cross compatible. But you know, if you like using modern equipment, you know, because if you're results driven, and typically people that are result oriented want more modern equipment because it's more efficient. You know, like Phil likes to use, he likes the Holy Trinity because it covers all of the focal ranges with 3 lenses. It's more efficient. He only has to carry, you know, and he's got his super telephotos for his wildlife. And when he goes to shoot wildlife, he doesn't bother carrying the shorter focal lengths, so he doesn't need them, so it doesn't clutter up his bag. It's more efficient. And it makes sense from that point of view. It makes perfect sense. I just like the nostalgia. I like the interaction with the camera. You know, me and Irwin Davis, I don't know if you've seen the video of him when me and him did some street photography, but he explained it really well. I like to interact with the camera. That's part of the experience to me, is interacting with the equipment. Now, struggling with it isn't fun. You know, trying to get it to do something, you know, whatever. But no, you ain't completely off there, Velo. There's there's been a heart transplant, you might say. There's a lot of Panasonic inside these Leica digital cameras. They've got a cooperative agreement. There's a lot of Panasonic tech in there. So, no, you ain't off base too far. No, I ain't gonna sit here and jump on that because you're pretty close. but yeah, I enjoy using this equipment. You know, that's why you see all this manual focus gear in here today. All three of the lenses are manual focus that I've got with me. I've got autofocus lenses for it, but I just brought manual focus ones because I like them. You know, it's just, I don't know why, I just do. And now when I'm shooting wildlife, I want autofocus mostly because it's faster, it's more efficient. I don't miss, you know, there's a what's the word? It's almost like a fee. You know, the fee is higher, the risk. Maybe it's the risk reward because I might not be able to get a photo of that particular creature again. So this might be my only opportunity to capture that animal. And I want to make sure I have equipment that will get me that photo when I shoot wildlife photography. And a nice autofocus lens on a good autofocus camera typically will get me that result, and it's worked really well for me. So normally when I shoot wildlife, I like to use a big telephoto lens on an autofocus camera, and like I prefer honestly my D810 or my Z50. For whatever reason, it's those two, and that 500mm face reticle. And if I'm on the D810, a lot of times I'll add that teleconverter to it and make it a little longer, so it's similar in focal length to the Z50, and that serves that purpose well. But I don't shoot that all the time. That's a seasonal kind of thing for me for some reason. I do it some, but I don't do it all the time. But for me, interacting with the machine is a big part of it. It's just I just enjoy the tactile interaction, if that makes sense. And you know, that's the wonderful thing about this hobby is you got guys that like to shoot film. They love the whole process of the analog film process, and they just enjoy it. They enjoy dealing with carrying film canisters and knowing that they only have so many frames of you know, images in a canister of photos, and that they have to be more mindful of that, and they just can't just, like today I had this thing on high speed continuous. Dude, it will straight crank out the images. It sounds like a machine gun. It's just, it's really fast. But you can't do that in film. You know, it's just neat that there's so many facets to this hobby. And that, you know, no two people that I've met so far are really in the exact same facet. Everybody does, they might have very similar things, but they do it a little different. You know, it's just interesting to me to see that. Gary Arbuckle says, nothing is as cool as a radioactive glass and the old pre-AI lenses. I got a Geiger counter, dude. I got some of that hot glass. I have some. I have a Canon lens that's hot. I have several Pentax lenses that are hot. Yeah, I got them. They will straight set off a Geiger counter. The SL2S is equal to Panasonic is what Velo Rider said. I wanted to jump back on that. The SL2, the CL, the TL family, I'm pretty sure are all cooperative designed with Leica and Panasonic working together. What? What'd you say? In a minute. But I've seen some YouTubers claim that that these digital cameras are simply just rebadged Panasonic cameras, and that's not entirely true. They are cooperatively designed with them though, so there's a lot of Panasonic in this camera. It's just that it's got a bunch of Leica in it too. They are different, but that SL2S is it's something. What isn't it meant for? More like video? I really don't know. I haven't looked to see what the deal is. I know they picked up speed on a bunch of specs and things like that. Canada saved the Leica company, and it did. And then some doctor bought the whole thing, and he floated the whole company. SLR camera lenses, because the flange distance have the same problem then, and I need a bifocal lens. Oh, okay. True. If the camera does it all for you, I would lose interest. It would be like a self-playing guitar. Yeah.
I don't know like this.
All right. I'll be along in a minute.
I think I worked it out.
Velo says like articles are not inexpensive. LOL. Good point. It's proportional. They're inexpensive compared to M lenses or the new L lenses from Leica. They're not cheap compared to old nickel glass by any stretch of the word. But good one. All right, guys. I'm gonna crank down the stream. We're 132 minutes in, so that's over 2 hours we've sat here and chatted. Man, I've had a good time tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. If y'all haven't hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. And if you haven't done it yet, there's a subscribe button somewhere, probably in this window that you're looking at on the computer, and it typically will be over this way, if I'm right. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun. You guys take care, and we'll see y'all soon. And until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. All right? I'll see you later.